imagine that you've got an offer for UX design job. Should you take it? Are all design jobs dream jobs? Far from that. In this video, I will give you 5 red flags that you should be aware during the job interview process, and maybe they can indicate that you shall stay away from the company. My name is Ines, I'm a principal product designer with 15 years of experience. This channel is about UX design. I want to give you a disclaimer. Right now, there are not so many jobs available on the market, and probably we cannot be so picky as we could before. But some of the red flags I will be giving you are really dangerous, and you should stay away from such companies in any times. Some of the red flags, they are, in my opinion, discussable. I would be really cautious if I indicate one of the flags like that, but if I would be in a really complex financial situation, this is something I could live with. So let's go. And the first red flag that I think is especially important in the times right now is the financial instability of the company. Because we really don't want to start working in the company to just find out that they are about to close. I actually had this experience myself, and I do not recommend it to anyone. I once was working in an agency for more than a year and everything was fine, but what I didn't know is that company had really big financial troubles. And what happened after the year when I joined is that the company stopped paying salaries to the employees. And at first it was not a problem, we were really attached to the company, we wanted to help them to go through these tough times, but in time that has become really problematic, and unfortunately they called a bankruptcy and did not pay us much. I had a lawsuit going for many years and I did not receive basically nothing. That of course might happen with every company, especially in the crisis times, but if I did a due diligence while applying to this company, I might indicate this red flag sooner, and at least I might be prepared to what is coming. Now let's talk what you should do to prevent yourself from getting into this situation. What you can and should do is to search all available information about the company, especially when it comes to their financial situation. It could be tricky, but it's your job. Nobody else could do this for you. What else you can do is to Google information about the founders. That alone provides a good picture about the company structure, about the priorities, about who is this person collaborating with. Oftentimes a good indicator if a founder already had some projects in the past. Maybe they sold them, or maybe they are running them in parallel, but this information will actually give you a good idea if a founder really knows what they're doing. Also, an indirect sign that it could be a founder that knows what they're doing and they're financially stable inside of the company is when you see that they had an experience in some of the big names companies. It's not direct the prediction of the success, none of that is actually, but usually people who are very well known in the industry, they are able to raise capital faster, and that means that the company might sustain itself longer. The second red flag you should be aware of, and it is actually quite important that you do, is that the company runs a legal business. That might sound very obvious, but it's actually really not. Unfortunately, there are a lot of companies in tech that are very shady. I'm talking about crypto startups that don't have know your customer systems and they allow any transaction to run through their platforms. I'm also talking about fake e-commerce stores that steal clients' card data and so on. And actually, the sad thing is that from the outside, they might look like they are running a very normal business, like they are looking for a designer to create e-commerce stores, and they also have a team of developers and everything is okay. It seems so. But it's imperative you care about these things early on, and there are some red flags you can notice. The first indicator of this red flag is when it is very little information available about the company. They might have an empty LinkedIn page and the founder LinkedIn pages are either hidden or not available or also empty, or their website might be really vague and there is no more mentioning about this name of the company anywhere else. That alone is very suspicious, because even if it is a startup on a very early stage, a founder of such startup will make a lot of effort to look credible, to look reliable, to show that they know what they're doing and things like that, and they will usually use LinkedIn a lot. And also such companies, they try not to appear as they are startups. They usually approach you saying they have a lot of employees, they have a very stable company, they run a business for many years and things like that. The other indicator that you might encounter is that they are not telling you what the company is doing up until the very end of the interview process. And they will be avoiding your direct question about what the company is doing by answering you like that. We are a holding, there are a lot of companies in our portfolio and things like that. Another good indicator, and you might be even disappointed by that, is that they usually offer you a very high salary. And the way how these companies often win candidates is that they say you the ridiculously high salary on the first interview. And usually it works really like a blackout for a person. They don't care about the companies not answering their questions because they are just hooked into these numbers. But this is of course really, really dangerous, and in my opinion, no salary worth the risk. So beware of these red flags. I think this one is probably the most important one because it carries the legal consequences if you fail to indicate them. The next red flag you should be aware of while in the interview process is incompetent founders. The thing is that nobody is born being a founder. This is a thing to learn as well as any other profession. And there are junior founders. They might be having just the first ever company and they never hired employees, they never established processes, and they are inventing their way on the go. And some founders, they can find a way through that. They can have mentors, they can have, I don't know, some education, but unfortunately it could happen that you will run into a person who is just running the company based on a gut feeling. And how it is bad for you is that you can encounter really bad processes, employees that are unsatisfied, unclear goals of the company, and so on. And the company might be even financially stable because founders might be really good in selling their product. So how can you identify that? You can only do that by asking really particular, detailed questions about how the company is run. And you shall be expecting really detailed answers. The more detailed, the better. What tools are they using? Who is starting the project? How do PMs and designers collaborate? All those things. And if you hear a vague answer, if you hear that everything is changing depending on the project type, and it's really hard to say, and they are really a startup in a very early stage, they don't want to be tied by complex processes, this is something to be suspicious of. Because even if it is a very small team of 3 people, there should be already some ways of how they do collaboration. I would also recommend you to ask if you can talk not only with the founder of the company, but with some other employees. Because that could also happen that the CEO of the company is not involved in the day-to-day operations. Because the major CEO's job is to find funding and define the strategy and things like that. And they might honestly don't know the answers to your question. But if you know that the CEO of the company, the founder of the company, is involved into day-to-day operations and they still cannot give you the answer, that's something to be aware of. By the way, if you like this video so far, give me a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button down below. That's important for me and for YouTube algorithms. And we are moving on. Now, the fourth red flag that you should be aware of when you are accepting the offer is to check if the company is not hiring a designer to be their hands. Why is that bad? Is because when a designer is not expected to participate in strategic topics in user research, that means this designer will never be able to run their job effectively. And you being on the position of this designer will not be able to grow, and your portfolio at the end will be quite disappointing. You can identify that by proactively asking questions about the projects and challenges you are expected to work with. And pay particular attention if your interviewer knows a connection between designers and the success of the company. They might say things like, we are having this goal, we don't know who are our users yet, we are about to define our product market fit, and the design plays the crucial role in this. And that sounds okay. At the same time, if they say we just need a person who will work on our UI, we have a lot of things to be built from 0 to 1, and they never ever mention some bigger picture in this, some bigger goals, that might be an indicator that they just want a designer that will be working as hands and will be realizing any wish of a founder. And this work will probably be a big disappointment for you, and that will hinder you from growing in your design career. Probably you will not know what to do with the projects from this company because you never did some UX work, you never spoke with your users, and you only did things that your founder asked you to do. Actually, especially when you join the company like that, sometimes you can change things by being really proactive, by knowing the language of business, by building strong relationships with your stakeholders. You can change the order of the things there, but that will require you time and some expertise and experience in that. And for junior UX designers, that might not be a suitable challenge as well, because it's very tricky, it's very political, and it's actually not helping you to improve your core skills in UX design. And the last red flag you should be aware of when you are about to accept the offer is the difference in the culture of the company from your values. What I mean by that is when you come to an interview and everybody there is sitting in their suits and you came there casual. That might be an indicator that the company has different value from yours, and probably your collaboration would be quite challenging with them. I would say that this red flag is the least important one, because if you are willing to adapt, if you want to work on this product, if you like the people there, then you can put all the differences aside, or maybe you can adapt to their ways of working. And especially when a situation on a job market is as we have it right now, when there are not many jobs are available, it is something to get along with. But for me, for example, the match between my values and the company values is something that is really important. Because if, for example, founders of the company, they don't really value women or people of color, that might lead to really problematic situations at work. So if I have a choice, and if I suspect that the company values is somewhat different from mine, I would probably stay away from the company like that. But how can you be sure that there might be a case of culture differences? Probably you are all sitting on a Zoom call and you don't really see them wearing suits, for example. The best thing to do is to meet the team. And in some cases, you might even proactively ask for that. Before joining the company, before accepting the offer, it is allowed to ask, hey, can I meet the team one more time? Or maybe we did not have this step in the process, but I would really want to know and meet the people I'm gonna work with. And in many situations, when the company has already given you an offer and they are already interested in you joining the team, they might be open for you to arrange this call. And then basically on this call, use your gut feeling. Is it easy for you to talk with these people? Do you have some common topics? What are they caring about? Ask them what person do they want to join their team, and then listen for their answers. My favorite question is when I ask, what qualities shall a new candidate bring to this role? And then I just listen for an answers and see if that is something that relates to me and this is something that I can adapt to. For example, if they will say, we actually separate our personal life and the work relationship, so we would love a person to do the same. We would love the person not asking us how our kids are doing and things like that. That is perfectly okay, and in some cultures this is actually to be expected, but it's not working for me. I'm a different person. I always bring my personal life to work. I like to be friends with the people I work with, and actually most of my friends, I obtain them through working relationships. The other questions that might be a good idea to ask is that describe me your latest team building events and how do you run team building in general, or ask them how do they usually go about their day, what their day looks like in the company. These questions I usually give you a good picture about what to expect when you will join the company, and then you can decide if you would like it or not. So these were 5 red flags to care about when you are in an interview process with a company. I advise you to check if the company is financially stable, if they're running a legal business, if their founders know what they're doing, and if they know what UX designers are doing, and if your values match the values of the company. I hope that was helpful, and now you know how to identify bad job offers from good ones. I have other videos on my channel about finding a job in UX design. For example, check out this video about what would I do if I were a junior UX designer right now and I was looking for a job. And if you like this video and you want to receive more videos like that, hit the subscribe button down below, and I see you next time.